So, welcome. I am Amber Abila. If you are new here, I am a binge eating and overeating coach, and I'm here to talk to you today about the 6 essential steps to stop binge eating. These are really the steps that I took in my journey. They were a little bit more all over the place when I was healing my relationship with food. But now I'm going to teach you the process that I have taken hundreds of people through that have helped them come out as these normal, confident eaters. These people who you see in your life who have never dieted before. Normally, it maybe is your husband or another man that you know in your life who maintains their weight naturally and effortlessly, who can have just a cookie and move on, who can leave 3 chips in the bag without thinking about it, who just go throughout their day not worrying about food until they're hungry and then they eat and they move on. That's the type of eater that I'm going to teach you how to be today. Central Iowa. Oh, you're from Lakewood originally. Awesome. I'm in Broomfield. All right, so let's just get started here. So stay to the end because we'll have a Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions for me, feel free to raise your hand, put them in the chat, unmute throughout, but we will have some time at the end. We'll be going about 45 minutes to an hour today. And then we'll have a downloadable PDF that you'll be getting when we get to the steps. So that will be a fun resource that you'll be able to take with you today. If you don't already have a pen and paper or a way to take notes, I'd recommend getting something now. Whenever we write something down, it helps integrate it into our brain and helps it so it's remembered more. There's a lot of research on writing versus typing. It's actually better to write things down because our brain processes it differently. So if you want to really make sure you remember today's information, take out a pen and paper and write it down. So did you know that binge eating was not actually recognized as a recognized eating disorder until 2013? That has been pretty recently. That's only about 10, 12 years ago, which means there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of medical professionals who are still not well versed and confused about binge eating. I was just talking to a lady the other day on Instagram in my DMs who told her doctor that she was struggling with food and her weight, and they just told her to try harder, maybe try a diet. Basically, our medical care system does not know very much about how to treat people who are struggling with food. It's oftentimes just go on a diet, use willpower, white knuckle your way through. And unfortunately, it takes a while for the modern neuroscience and research to get down to the everyday knowledge where it's taught to therapists or doctors, but honestly, even dietitians. I talked to 2 dietitians the other day at a conference I was at, and they said they didn't get a single psychology class. So they might know how to tell you what to eat, but they have no idea how your brain is working. So I am here today as first someone who has been in your shoes, who has struggled with food for many years myself and really tried it all and has come out of it, and to give you the steps and information I so desperately wish I had too when I was struggling. So what you're going to learn today is why past eating advice hasn't worked, why the things you've been trying are just keeping you stuck in a loop. Then you're going to learn the 6 actionable tips that you can start implementing today, as well as the step-by-step pathway to food freedom. Why is this important? Important because it will give you back your time, energy, and money. It costs us so much time when we are confused. I remember I once spent hours and got to page 50 of Google looking how to stop binge eating, how to stop overeating. It literally took so much of my life away. I couldn't focus on work. I couldn't focus on my friendships, my other relationships, because all day I was just thinking about what was I going to eat next? What's for lunch? Oh, did I overeat last night? How can I beat myself up for overeating last night? How can I solve this? Like, it is just so much time that you spend, and time is your most valuable resource. It's something that we can never, ever get more of. You're also going to save energy because every time you binge eat, it drains your energy. Digestion is the most energy intensive process we do every single day in our body. So when we are overeating, our body's having to process all of this extra food, and it's really taxing on our system. And then we're also doing all these things that might not actually make an impact. You're making a lot of these mistakes that we're going over. So you're not only spending a lot of time on it, but you're also spending a lot of energy doing things that aren't really working. So it's going to be so much easier when you have the exact steps and the direct path to get to where you want to go. And finally, it costs a lot of money. Overeating is not a cheap habit to have. I have had clients who have cut their grocery bills in half when they stopped binge eating. One client recently messaged me that she was doing her grocery budget for the month, and she's been in my program for about 3 months. and she's had an extra $200 in her budget because she hasn't been doing takeout because she feels so overwhelmed with food choices. She hasn't been binge eating, so she's been saving money there. So it's just a really fun thing to think about as a way to stay motivated. I want to save time, energy, and money. I also used to spend so much time at work just feeling like bogged down. And so then I didn't work as hard, which can impact your ability to get a raise, move up in your company. Also had clients who have gotten raises in their time together because their bosses noticed how much more focused and energized they are. I'd overspend money on clothes, spray tans, all of these things trying to hide my body. So if you don't know me, hello, I'm Amber Abila. I go by The Confident Eater. That's where you can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, my podcast, Become a Confident Eater. And I called myself The Confident Eater because this is all I wanted, was to be someone who's confident in their eating habits, who didn't overthink every decision, who didn't feel so bogged down by it all the time. So I'm someone who's recovered from binge eating. I also struggled with bulimia, just disordered eating, like thinking about food all the time, a lot of food noise, a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, and just a lot of hate towards my body. No matter if I lost weight or gained weight, it didn't matter. I always wanted to be thinner. But it wasn't always this way. So my journey started back in 2015 when I started calorie counting. I thought, okay, I want to lose a little bit of weight. I want to lose like 15 pounds. What do? I look up on Google. Okay, I got to do calories in, calories out. So I downloaded my Fitness Pal, started tracking calories, and it worked for a little bit. I did lose weight and I felt like, woohoo, this is great. But then I started to be obsessed with the calorie counter. I thought I couldn't trust my body. I had a panic attack in Red Robin once over whether I was going to choose French fries or broccoli to eat. So I was filled with so much thoughts about food and just panic around food, and I had zero trust in my body anymore. But after a period of time of restricting my calories, then I started binge eating. And I remember my first binge so clearly. It was on 7 cookies. It was around Christmas time. I like snuck downstairs. I opened the tin and I was like, okay, I've been so good. I'm just going to have one. And then I had another and another and another until I had 7 cookies. I felt so ashamed. I had blown past my calorie count for the day, and I thought it wouldn't happen again. But then it started happening to the point where it got to every day. And so I really tried everything because I was gaining weight rapidly. It was impacting so many different areas of my life. So the first thing I tried was therapy. When I went to therapy, this is where most people go to. If you're like, okay, I know I want this mindset-based approach and I want someone to help me with my thoughts around food, maybe I'll go to therapy. The problem with therapy for me, it does work for some people, but for me, we spent so much time going to my past. I didn't have any direct traumas that tied into my binge eating. It was simply I had restricted for so long that I started overeating. And then after a while of overeating for many years, it had started to become a habit. So then, even though I was no longer dieting, I was eating like 3,000 calories a day. I was still wanting to binge because at that point, my brain had started to turn this into a habit that it thought it needed for survival. Therapy taught me none of that. All I spent in therapy was time going back to when I was 5 years old, trying to figure out things there. So I wasted a ton of time, money, and energy in therapy with well-meaning therapists. But again, remember, people did not know that binge eating was a thing until 2013. Like it wasn't classified as an eating disorder, meaning if a therapist was trained before 2013, they weren't even taught about binge eating. So they don't really have a lot of good information on it, and it's very outdated. Then I also tried counting calories and macros. Like I mentioned, I just totally ignored my body's signals. I tried going sugar-free. And let me know in the chat. I would be curious if you have tried any of these things that I've tried, and I'd love to know your experience. Like what happened if you tried any of these things. When I went sugar-free, I thought that sugar was the problem. And this is what a lot of us will do, will say, oh, I'm binging on sugar and flour, so I should just stop eating that. What I learned very quickly is you can still binge on foods that don't have sugar or flour on it. So then I started binging on like protein bars, or I'd binge on fruit. I had a client once who was also binging on fruit. She would eat like 20 tangerines in one sitting because it felt like the safe food that she could binge on. But then you're still overeating on fruit. And even if you're overeating on fruit, still overeating, it's still taxing to your digestive system. You're still going to gain weight from it. So that didn't work because I still started binge eating on other things. Then I tried intermittent fasting. I thought, well, a lot of this overeating is happening at nighttime, like after dinner. So maybe if I just try to put the strict rule around no eating after dinner, then that will help. But then I just started overeating in my 8-hour window that I had. When I had between 10 and 6, I would just overeat then. And then over time, like I would just be so stressed out. People would want to go to late night dinner. I'd be like, oh my gosh, it's not in my time span. Like, what am I going to do? Now I'm not going to be able to eat tomorrow morning. So it was just really stressful. I also tried weight loss coaching. This is how I got into coaching. Back in 2019, I did this weight loss coaches program. She's now retired, but I ended up working with her for a couple years. The problem with this, it was still laced with diet mentality. So there was still a lot of all or nothing thinking, a lot of good and bad foods. So it gave me a lot of amazing mindset tools for emotional eating, for my urges, which we'll talk about in a second, but it didn't really help me heal my relationship with food. And so then finally, the last thing I really tried was intuitive eating. And I tried Instagram intuitive eating, as I call it, where I was like looking up all the tips on intuitive eating. I was listening to the podcast. But all that happened then is I brought the foods in my house and I had no clear structure on what to actually do. So I just ended up overeating, continued to gain more weight, still felt really out of control around food. So nothing worked for me until I learned the psychology of habits and how to rewire our brain. It was really important for me that I found an approach that lasted for life, not just like a diet that I was going to do for a couple months and fall off of. And so once I learned how habits worked and how our brain connects food and our habits together, everything became so much simpler in my journey. So then I went out and got certified in coaching the unconscious brain. This is what really keeps us stuck. 95% of our brain's processing is unconscious. So if you are working with someone who does not know how to coach your unconscious brain, you're missing out on 95% of the puzzle. You can still make changes, but it's only 5% of your brain that's changing, not the 95%. And what I mean by coaching the unconscious is the part of our brain where you say something like, well, I know what to do, but I'm not doing it. Who has ever said that to themselves before? Like, I know how to eat healthy. I know the nutrition and everything. Like, I still to this day have the calories memorized in 12 baby carrots and like 12 almonds. I don't need that information anymore, but it's just interesting how I thought that that was the solution, to just memorize the calories and nutrition and everything. That's ignoring the part of my brain that says it feels unsafe to stop binge eating. Part of me, it feels good to keep binge eating. Part of me is just really nervous of what happens if I let this go? What will my life be like? That is all of your unconscious brain speaking. So I now use a blend of techniques that finally worked with me, including cognitive behavioral therapy and thought work. We look at how your thoughts are true. One of the biggest insights I had was just because you're thinking something doesn't mean it's true. So just because your brain is telling you it needs a lot of food and you need to eat right now, that does not mean you actually need to eat. And I think we've all had this experience where our body is full. We just ate a huge dinner. We're like, I am full, but our mind goes, but you need more. We don't actually need more food. And so what we do through cognitive behavioral therapy is we see, how can I change that thought that I need food right now when it's not actually true, and see the truth of it. I use positive psychology, relaxation techniques, aspects of hypnosis. Hypnosis is what accesses your deeper layers of your unconscious brains and gives you this deeper layer of change. And I teach people the essential knowledge of how to eat like a natural eater. So again, these people who have just one cookie, one chip, and they move on, and you're like, how the heck do they do that? How are they listening to their body? That's what I learned for myself and what I teach people now. So some things you might have been trying. A few things. You might have tried Googling of saying, okay, well, how do I stop binge eating? Only to realize that you're already doing all of these things. It will tell you to just drink more water, eat more protein, call friends, take a bubble bath. And you're like, yeah, but like, I'm already doing those things. So now what? Then you might have tried just like random advice on Instagram or podcasts, only to be told to like just eat more. Like, you're clearly not eating enough, so just eat more. And you're like, no, I already am eating enough. Or to cut foods out completely. Also not helpful. Maybe you've tried just reading self-help books, only to get past page 27 and leave it gathering dust. I have a lot of books out there. I'm telling you, I'm guilty of that too. You start reading a book, you pick it up, and then you forget about it forever, and you never actually make the changes. So what's missing from all of these is it's just a random jumble of tips with no proven structure. You get like the introductory information, the basics, and intricate stuff all mixed together. Has anyone ever tried to learn something new, a new language, an instrument, and you get stuck on learning it? Or maybe you just tried YouTubing a few lessons, but you soon learn that like the YouTube is all over the place. You're not making any progress. You're just wasting time. I tried this when I was learning guitar over COVID. I was like, how hard can guitar be to learn? So I did a couple of YouTube lessons, and then I realized that guitar was a lot harder to learn than I thought it was, as someone who's never played music before. Learning how to eat normally is a new skill for you if you have been dieting for a long time. And we don't often give ourselves that patience and grace. We think, well, I'm supposed to know how to eat normally because this is just like a skill my body has. But the truth is if you've spent all these years ignoring your body's wisdom and telling it doesn't matter. Essentially, every time you're hungry, you say, too bad, you're going to wait longer. Or every time you're full, it's like, too bad, I'm just going to keep eating. It's created this disconnect. So it is a new skill you're having to learn, and give yourself that patience and grace. Don't tell yourself, I should know how to do this already if you don't. It's okay to need to figure something out sometimes, especially when we're in this like diet obsessed culture. So, what do you do if you're trying to learn a language, a new skill? You're going to go hire a teacher. You're going to download Duolingo. You're going to do something so you can be taken through the steps themselves. So, I'm going to give you the steps on how to do this today. All right, so without further ado, here is my signature 6-step process to stop binge eating. So, let me give you my PDF in. I'm going to give it to you in the chat here. And if you're watching the replay, the PDF will be in the box below this. Okay. Let me know if this works for you guys. I want to make sure you guys get the worksheet. It should bring up a Google document that you can make a copy of, and this will allow it so you can write on this worksheet, you can fill it out with us together, and it's your own copy. No one else sees it, so you have it for yourself to use forever and ever. Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, so I'll give everyone a minute to pull that up. And as I pulled mine up and move my screen around again. All right, so you're going to be learning 6 actionable hot tips on how to stop binge eating. I'm going to take you through this like high level overview of my process. I go through this entire process in my Confident Eater program. So I am essentially giving you this really high level, awesome overview of what you learn in 6 months with me together. But I'm going to give you these journal prompts and some things to walk through together. And if you have any questions throughout it, this is why you're here today. You've carved out an hour of your time today to be here with me. I want to make sure you get a lot of value and a lot of support through this. So we're going to walk through it together to make sure you actually do it. Learning is not effective unless you actually take your learning and implement it. So I really want to make sure you implement these steps today. So the first step to stop binge eating, you need to manage your thoughts and emotions. This is what will help you stop emotional eating. So if you are someone who eats when you are sad, when you are bored, when you are anxious, when you are stressed, you need to learn how to manage your thoughts and feelings. It is a key skill that will help you in any area of your life. It's going to help you improve your emotional well-being or your mental well-being. And it's going to make you someone who's in charge of your emotional state. Imagine if you could go through life and no matter what happens, you get to be in charge of how you react. Because that's the truth. But most of us just don't have those skills and resources to do that. Okay, so we are going to look at our worksheet here. So on your worksheet, the first question is, what's one emotion do you commonly eat from? This is going to build our awareness. And then also, when specifically do you feel this emotion? And feel free to put this in the chat too. I know you have your worksheet to fill out, but if you put it in the chat, I can help go through this and make it more specific to you to make this exercise more powerful. When I say when specifically do you feel this emotion, you don't say, I feel stressed when I'm at work. That is too general for your brain. That goes right over your brain and changes nothing. In order for neuroplasticity to happen, for our brain to rewire itself, you have to activate the neural network and feel triggered in order to take a new brain pathway. So we have to find this specific moment. So don't just say, I eat when I'm stressed at work. Say, I eat when my boss comes up to me at my desk and tells me feedback about a project, tells me how horrible I did on this project. Then I feel stressed and frustrated, and then I eat. That specific moment of your boss coming up to talk to you is the moment we want to identify. I commonly overeat when I feel overwhelmed by task or social situations. Okay, beautiful. So I want you to think of one specific situation from the last week where you felt overwhelmed by a task or social situation, and think of like one specific thing. So is it when you go to a party and you notice there's 30 people around and you know no one, and you start to feel this fear and panic, but then you see the dessert table over there and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna go get a dessert. That would be the moment where you're like, oh yes, that's where I want to change how I feel. Okay, so I'm going to take that everyone has their moment. So what we're going to do is I want you to close your eyes, imagining this moment. This is, we're going to change your brain in this moment. So imagining this moment, the specific things that happen that make you feel a way you don't want to feel and start to eat. And as you imagine that moment, taking a big inhale in through your nose and out slowly twice as long. In, out twice as long. One more in and out twice as long. All right, you can open your eyes. So what we just did there is take your brain out of that fight or flight mode and bring back your control. When we are in fight or flight, we don't have access to our higher brain wisdom. The part of us that says, like, don't yell at that person, don't do this. We need to make sure that we're in the calm state of mind in order to access the wisdom that we want to have. All right, so our next step, master moderation. So when you can master moderation, you'll be able to have just one food or however much you want and move on. This will help you eliminate food stress. Bring any food into your house without anxiety. So my tip for you on this today is I want you to plate all of your food together. So when your brain can see something like the carrots in a cookie side by side, it starts to neutralize the foods. It stops seeing the cookies as special or a reward and instead looks at it all as just food. And this will help us be more mindful while we're eating our triggering foods. And let's be honest, most of our trigger foods are eaten zoned out and unintentional. So does anyone have a food that they feel like they have struggle eating in moderation? You can put it in the chat. I'll give you an example of a client who did my trigger food process and I started plating them all together. She did this with peanut butter. So anytime she ate peanut butter, it was always out of the jar and she would eat like a third of it at a time. And this was me with Nutella. This is how I would always eat Nutella. So your brain starts to associate when I eat this food, it's a binge. And when we change our associations of, oh, no, instead, when I eat this food, I sit down and just part of my meal, it makes it so it's not on this pedestal anymore. It's not so special. So this client, what we did together is we went through a in-depth guided visualization in our session, and I walked her through imagining putting the peanut butter on the plate, seeing how it's just like any other food. It's not that special. You might enjoy it, but you can just eat it, put away the spoon in your dishwasher, close up the dishwasher, and leave the kitchen. And when she did that for the first time in her life, she had 1 teaspoon of peanut butter and didn't binge. And for the next week after that, she continued to do that and felt fine about it until she eventually was like, yeah, sometimes I like peanut butter, sometimes I don't. But it totally changed her associations with it. So putting it all out on a plate together, side by side, so we can neutralize those foods. All right, our third step is to allow our urges. Allowing your urges is the key skill of rewiring your brain. It's going to get you out of survival mode, brain, and it's going to help you build your life around your higher self. So a little bit of brain science for you. To put it simply, we have 2 parts of our brain. We have this higher part of our brain and we have this lower part of our brain. Our higher part of our brain is in charge of our actions, like what we do or don't do. It knows our goals, what we want. So our higher brain is the part of us who is here today, who is saying, I want to solve this. I want to get out of this food struggle and be this normal eater. Then you have this lower part of your brain. The lower brain is automatic and habitual and is running like a computer program on autopilot. Urges, the strong feeling you get to overeat, is coming from your lower brain, meaning it's coming on autopilot. But the good news is, because it's coming from our lower brain, we get to decide if we eat or not. One of my favorite exercises for this, and this isn't in the worksheet, but this is just something I want to show you, is to sit on your hands, and you can do this with me. You sit on your hands, no matter how hard you think about food right now. Like, I could help you create a craving right now. I won't do that because there's no need to do that. But we could sit here and think about food all day long. I could think about it how I want it, how I want it. I'm not going to do anything until my higher brain says, okay, lift up my hands and go eat. This means you are always in charge. You always have control. You don't have to eat just because your brain tells you it needs to eat. And I know you might know that, but it is important to show your brain that I am in charge and I am in control. So 2 of the worst things we can do around urges are get surprised and get angry. So if you, for the past year, you've eaten at night and you get to tonight and you're like, oh, I can't believe I want to eat tonight. Why is this coming up? Of course it is coming up because that is how you have trained your brain and wired it in. So you don't want to get surprised when you're having an urge and you don't want to get angry at it. Because when you get angry and say, oh, I'm so mad that I want to eat right now. I can't believe that this is happening. You are just creating more negative emotion for yourself on top of what you're already feeling, which makes it even harder to deal with. So on your worksheet, we want to think about what's one time of day or one situation where urges for food come up. When we can identify this one thing, we can be prepared for it. So you're not surprised. I say on this worksheet, urges are an opportunity to change your brain, not something to be scared of. We must feel triggered and make a different choice in order for the urges to be deconditioned and stop coming up. So maybe it's every time you see the snack drawer at work, you start to feel that craving, that desire for food. Write down that moment. Because then when you go see the snack drawer tomorrow at work, I want you to be prepared and say, my brain is going to give me an automatic suggestion, is a suggestion, is not a command, asking me to eat food, and I don't have to listen to it. It is just thoughts going through my brain that are creating sensations in my body that I can handle. I will be okay. Feel free to share in the chat again if there's anything that you want to share that's coming up for you. It could be helpful for everyone else too to see. And then you can also write down maybe what you want to remind yourself of in that moment. So like when you see the snack drawer, do you want to remind yourself that this urge can't hurt me? I am in charge. I will be safe and I will be okay. All right, next. We need to start listening to our hunger and fullness. Now, you'll notice this is the fourth step. A lot of people try to do this first, and that is a mistake. If you try to listen to your hunger and fullness first, and I used to teach it this way. I used to teach hunger and fullness. Like when I very first started 4 years ago, I used to teach hunger and fullness first, but I don't teach it that way now, and I haven't for the last 3 or so years because it can be tricky. It is a big skill to learn how your body works if you have been ignoring it for the last 5, 10, 20 years. So by doing all the other 3 steps first and working on those areas, then once you feel like, okay, I have a good food mindset, I am listening to, or not eating, or I am eating in moderation, I am not acting on my urges, then listening to your hunger and fullness becomes so much more effortless. So this is how natural eaters eat. It is your most accurate calorie counter if you were listening to it. A lot of times people will tell me, Amber, I feel like I can't listen to my body because my body tells me to just keep eating. That is not your body telling you to do that most of the times. It is your mind. It is your mind that you can't trust. Your body is telling you it's full. I promise you, you do have those signals in you still. But again, we just need to do some work on retuning back in them. And when you listen to your hunger and fullness, it's going to ensure that you feel your absolute best. It is going to allow you to feel energized, satisfied, full of light, and bounce in the day because you're not overloading your body with extra food all the time. Okay, so on your worksheet, my tip for this is to turn off distractions when you are eating. When you have distractions on, it makes it harder to tune into these signals that are already doled out. So we have to be extra present with what our cues are saying, and that's really difficult to do when TikTok, a TV show, or work is pulling all of your attention outwards. I've heard, the statistic varies depending on where you're looking at it. But between when people are eating in front of a TV, they eat 30 to 150% more, depending on what study you're looking at. So what it's showing us is that if we're zoned out, we're probably going to eat more because we're disconnected to our body. Like just think about if you're to go on a walk and you have like your headphones in and your sunglasses on and like, I don't know, hat, like you can't really see much, you're not going to be very present for that walk versus like when you have nothing and you're like, wow, what a beautiful day it is today. Oh my gosh, look at those beautiful flowers. Look at the beautiful birds. That's what we're going to do with the food. We're going to notice and we're actually going to get pleasure out of the food. So we don't want to keep going back for more. Fifth, creating confidence at any size. Fear and shame are bad long-term motivators. They have shown this time again through research that when people shame themselves into change, they are less likely to succeed. It might work temporarily, so even if you do change, you're going to live in fear of going back to where you were and it feels hard to maintain. This happened to me once where I lost like some weight by telling myself, like I put all the pictures of the skinny people up on my vision board on my phone. I would hang like some shorts up on my wall to be like my skinny shorts to motivate me to lose weight. But all that happened is even though I did lose a little bit of weight, I was so fearful of, but what if I gain it all back? because now I've made it mean I can only be a lovable, worthy, happy person if I maintain this weight. And that's just not true. Even if you're at a bigger body size right now, you are still lovable, you are still worthy, and you can still live an absolutely healthy, happy life. Now, if you stop binge eating, I always say you're probably going to lose weight because if you're overeating thousands of extra calories throughout the week right now and you stop doing that, your weight's probably going to trend downwards. But we want to get to the place where we stop blaming and shaming ourselves and beating ourselves up all day because we want to care for things we love. Think about like that coworker that you just kind of hate, like they really annoy you. You're not going to go out of your way to buy them a beautiful birthday cake or make them a fresh meal or give them a nice present. No, you're gonna like totally ignore them and hate on them. But think about something you love, like your dog or a child. It's like, oh my gosh, I love them so much. I want the best for them. I want to give my children the best food in the world. I want to give my dog so much love and support and care, and I want to be there for them. That actually leads us to showing up and taking the actions we need to be healthy when we show up with love. So on your worksheet, I want you to write down one kind thing about yourself. It doesn't have to be like the biggest thing in the world. It doesn't have to be, oh my gosh, you're the best person ever. You're amazing. It could just be, I'm really proud of you today for showing up to this workshop. I'm really proud of you for listening to your hunger this morning. I really want to buy you a nice shirt because I know a lot of your shirts are uncomfortable right now, and I think you deserve them. Sorry, I'm just like making some thoughts up, but choose one kind thing that you want to say to yourself so you can start showing up as someone that you love and care for. Okay, and then the final pillar and step is to maintain your progress. You're making all of these great changes. You want to keep going. When you're able to maintain your progress, you're going to get out of the yo-yo results. So you're going to stop losing weight and gaining weight and doing good for 3 weeks with food and having a 2 week binge and then having another 2 weeks of good. Like it's all the all or nothing, on or off thinking that is getting us in this place. So once we can maintain our progress, we're no longer in that. Maintaining your progress means you stop the self-sabotage and you create habits for life. When we are shifting our identity and becoming this new person, this is where we need to start doing the unconscious brain work, right? And this is something that we start to cover within my Confident Eater program. So the truth is, changing your brain that's developed these eating habits over many years takes more than just an hour. So if you're ready to make a full transformation in your life from binge eater to confident eater, this program will be for you. And it's how me and over 100 women I've worked with have become natural intuitive eaters, and you can too. You are not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You have gotten into actually a very healthy brain habit of your brain just trying to keep you alive. But the problem is we don't really know how our brain formed habits. So I take you through everything that I've learned in the 6-month step-by-step program that is based in the latest brain science that will give you everything you need to create your dream eating habits. Now, you're going to want to make sure you stay till the end too, because I have a really fun bonus going on right now that I want to tell you about. And there's limited amount of spaces, so it really is first come, first serve. And then we'll also do Q&A at the end as well. So this program is for you if you're binge eating, overeating, or both. I know sometimes like the line between these gets a little blurry. Am I binge eating? Am I overeating? To me, it doesn't matter. What matters to me is that you're eating more food than your body needs, and that's painful and that hurts your life. And so that's what we want to work on changing is how can we eat the right amount of food for ourselves? If you're struggling to eat foods in moderation, you feel like you can't bring certain foods in your house because you're scared of binging on them. If you're dealing with these strong urges to eat, where you just feel like you can't do anything else when you have these thoughts around food except eat. If you're wanting this permanent psychological approach and high-touch personalized support, this is a one-on-one private coaching program, so you get me holding your hand there for you as your coach every step of the way. This is not going to be for you, though, if you are wanting a strict meal plan and diet rules. I don't do meal plans. I empower you to make your own rules. And these aren't strict, rigid rules. These are guidelines that are going to help you go anywhere in the world. So you can travel to Italy this winter or fall, whenever you want to go to Italy, and not have to worry about, am I on track? Am I off track? Am I following the calories, the meal plan? If you've been diagnosed with anorexia or have been hospitalized for an eating disorder in the past, it's also not going to be for you. So this is my client, Rachel. Rachel was actually a personal trainer herself. So she knew it all. Like she had all this certification. She knew all about nutrition. She even had like a behavioral change certification, but she was still struggling herself. And that is okay. I actually have worked with a lot of personal trainers, psychologists, therapists who are struggling themselves because a lot of times we have a hard time seeing inside of our own brain. We're like inside of a glass bottle trying to read the label from the outside, and we just don't really know what's happening. So that's where a coach comes in, is they can see the thoughts that you're not already seeing. So Rachel said that as a personal trainer, she thought she could do everything herself. However, saying yes to Amber's program was the best decision I have ever made. She gave me the tools to start listening to my body and mind, allowing me to make decisions and develop habits I never thought possible. I've been dealing with binge eating and overeating for almost 10 years, thinking I was going to be battling my urges forever, but she helped me change it. So no matter how much you have learned in the past, no matter what you have tried, this is still possible for you too with the right support. So here's how my program works. Every single week, you get weekly private video calls, which is where we celebrate, learn, coach together. We become a strong team and we solve your eating issues using the latest psychology. This is what gives you the accountability you have been missing. So if you feel like you just like have a binge spiral and then you just like shove it in the past, or you like want to hide from it, you need someone to help you get back up and back on track with your eating habits and health goals each week. This is why professionals and athletes and CEOs hire people to help them stay accountable. Not because they're broken, but because we just have a hard time staying accountable as human beings. I know a ton about exercise and working out, but I still have a personal trainer because it like helps get my booty to the gym and actually get it done. And I am probably 10 times more fit now than I would be had I not had her to keep me accountable, give me that exact plan that I need. Then you're also going to get unlimited text and voice message support. And yes, seriously, it is unlimited. You can text me every single day, multiple times a day. Hey, I saw this thing on Instagram. Would you recommend doing this? Oh no, I had a slip up. Can you give me some tools and resources to move forward? Oh, I'm having a hard time with this stressor in my life. My boss is being an asshole and I want to vent about it. Can I vent to you about it? Yes, absolutely. I am here to hold your hand and guide you every single step of the way so you don't feel lost anymore. I just remember feeling so alone on my journey. Like no one understood me. I didn't want to tell anyone about it because I felt really ashamed. I didn't want anyone to know what I was dealing with, which if that is you, just remember you're just eating food. You're not like doing anything horribly wrong here, not killing anyone. You're just eating food. There's nothing wrong with that. But it is nice to have someone to talk to about it who is just like an outsider support person. You don't have to talk your husband to it, or your best friend. You can just have someone who actually has the tools and resources to help you. And then you're going to get on-demand lessons and worksheets. So when you join, you get instant access to the Confident Eater course. This is my entire online course with materials covering everything you need to know about being a natural eater. We also have an app that you can use. So this is really nice because I know we're all busy. So you can listen to them like podcast style in the car, on the go. We go over the 6 pillars, but you're really going to get an in-depth look at each of these. So these are the pillars that we covered today that we will get in-depth lessons for on each of them. So you can really dive in more than just a 10-minute explanation and really have the information that you need to know of how do I be this natural eaters. So this is an example of what the first pillar looks like, positive food mindset. So you can see you go in, and when you go into the course, you'll be able to click on these. There's usually videos, there's worksheets, and I will give you your exact plan of what to go through. So I am no stranger to online courses. I have bought many online courses myself, and I have also not gone through many of online courses that I bought for myself. Oftentimes because there's no like actual live support. So one, you actually have me every single week, keeping you accountable and on track, but I'm also going to give you the guidance of, hey, so-and-so, this week you're going to be doing your meal guidelines lesson, or this week you're going to be focusing on learning how to move forward from after a slip. So you're not going to have to worry about how do I motivate myself to do the course. You don't have to worry about falling behind, trying to get back on track. I'm going to make sure you stay on track every step of the way. And a lot of my lessons are very short and simple. I've really distilled it down to the most potent information that you need that I don't talk about on my podcast. If you're listening to my podcast, it's a great resource, but I save the best of the best for my paying clients inside of this program. So it's not a lot of homework. If you have just 1 hour a week to work with me, we can help you stop binge eating forever. I am fully confident in that. You don't need 10 hours. If you do have extra time, we have like a fun bonus section that you can dive into with some additional resources. If I ever do a paid workshop, I did a paid workshop on visualizing your binge-free summer a couple months ago. That was $47, but everyone in my program gets it for free. So you always get any additional resources in here, anything I ever do in the classroom for free. And the truth is, you're honestly thinking about food so much right now already, stressing about it, what to eat, trying to make up for binges. So most of my clients find they actually gain back multiple hours of their week, possibly days of your weeks back, by spending an hour or two each week focusing on this and stopping the binge eating. So this is another client who worked with me, Jarrell. Jarrell was a nurse, so someone who was also kind of like into healthcare. When we started the program, he was overeating 5 times a week, and by the end, he was down to 0. He said, I can't say enough good things about Amber and her coaching. I've struggled with overeating for so long, I didn't think I'd ever be able to change this. With Amber's coaching, I am now can confidently say I don't overeat anymore. Her constant support and fresh perspective was exactly what I need to make this change in my life. Jarrell was a really big fan of the hunger and fullness lessons, and he used one of my tools called the hunger scale, where he used to be at like a 7 or a 9, which is like severe overeating all the time, and was like, he constantly felt like he was never hungry, that he was just always eating, there was never room for more. But by the end of the program, he felt really comfortable with hunger. So if you're someone who fears hunger, like I'm just scared of letting myself get hungry, that's something we work on together because hunger is just a signal like anything else. Just like the need to go pee or drink water, it's not a good or bad thing. It's just a part of your body's functioning if it's working right. And being comfortable with hunger is the key to not only being a natural eater, but if you have weight to lose, you have to learn how to be comfortable with hunger to some degree. We're not going to be starving yourself, but you need to be able to not panic at the first twinge of hunger or be snacking all day long that you never feel hungry at all. And we were both tearing up on our last call together as he said he felt like this can truly exist forever. He had never felt like that in all of his life before, but he just realized it doesn't have to be a struggle or a fight anymore, that this is something that he really feels like he can maintain for life. Okay, so our fun limited time bonus today is my Confident Eater journal. So this is a physical copy of my journal that's the wrong way, that you're going to get shipped to you in the mail. That it's going to give you prompts to help you heal your relationship with food faster. So this is a custom design journal that I have made to go along with my program specifically. So in the beginning, what's really fun is you have an open, just open journaling for any of our session notes. So you can, and I give you an example, this is the thought model. So you have some like resources here as well. But then I just give you a whole bunch of open pages so you can journal, which like I just love a good open page journal. But then at the end, we also have guided journal prompts in section 2. So you can go through and do some journal prompts throughout our time together and help keep yourself accountable throughout the week. So for example, like reflect on how your understanding of how hunger and fullness has changed. Write about a moment this week where you felt aligned with your goals. We have so many, I think there's like 50 or 60 prompts in here that you can go through during our time together. So in order to do this, you must book your consultation by this Thursday. It is okay if your consultation is for later this week. And I'm going to put the link to my schedule in the chat. It is a totally free consultation, so no cost to you. It's to help you understand if this program is right for you. And you have to do a consultation. So you can't just join the program right away because I do oftentimes refer people out to therapists too if I do feel like there's some trauma coming up that you need to work on first because otherwise we can't do the coaching. So I want to make sure that you're equally a good fit. So this is Brooke. Brooke had spent over $10,000 on other programs before. She had actually come to me, maybe it was even closer to 20,000. It was like a ridiculous amount of money where she had done like this 8-week program with this other binge eating coach. I'm not going to mention her, but her program was $8,000 for an 8-week program. It was very expensive and she didn't even make the changes that she wanted to take. It was a group program. So Brooke felt like really like left behind, left in the dust. She said that her eating disorder was consuming her life. She couldn't enjoy holidays or going to dinner with friends because she was worried about eating all the food in sight. Who can relate to that? Definitely the old me. I felt like she would explode with all of the urges. But after going through my program, she felt a sense of lightness and trust in herself. She wished she would have found me sooner. I would have recovered earlier if I knew that I wouldn't need to gain weight in order to be healed. I would actually lose weight. Thank you, Amber, for changing my life. There is a lot of times this narrative, especially in the intuitive eating community, that like you can't want to lose weight. And if you want to lose weight, you're doing something wrong or bad and you're never going to stop binge eating. I don't believe that. Weight loss is not going to be our number one ginormous focus, but Brooke did end up losing weight. A lot of my clients end up losing weight again because you're not consuming thousands of extra calories every week. Now, I do have a 100% satisfaction back guarantee. So this is so fun because how this works is you get to try the program for 30 days with full access to all support, all materials. So you can go through and check out all of the lessons. And if you feel like after those 30 days, it's not a right fit, all you're paying for is the first month and then you can cancel for anything after that and I'll refund your remaining balance. So it is simple as that. I know that sometimes it can feel scary to invest in yourself, especially if you've invested in yourself before. And I want this to be a good fit for both of us. So if you feel like, hey, I tried this out, not a good fit for me, I totally get it. No worries. You can go on your merry way. But for majority of people, like you haven't tried these tools that you're learning in this program. So it's totally going to be something brand new. And I am really confident that you are going to love it. Sometimes we just have to take that initial leap of believing in ourselves again and saying that I can do this. It is possible for me. We want to keep that door of possibility open, whether it's with me or someone else, or if you want to keep trying it on your own, like go ahead and do that. But I want you to fully believe in yourself that it's possible for you, because if you don't, you're never going to change. But if you think, okay, maybe it's possible for me, maybe this will work, then I want you to take that leap and just try something new. So you have two options today. You can continue wasting your time, money, and energy with random and inconsistent actions that's going to keep you stuck overeating. If you do want to keep trying this on your own, I want you to make a plan today of what will I actually do differently? What will actually change for me today that I haven't already tried? And I say this just with so much love and compassion because maybe you do have a plan and that's fantastic. But I don't want to see you stay stuck for another 10 years when I know I can help you out. My oldest client right now, she's 77. Okay, and so she has been struggling with this her whole entire life, and she is so grateful that she's finally getting it solved now. But just like Brooke, she wish she had gotten out of this earlier. So this is your opportunity to not have to spend your next 20, 30, 40, 50 years of your life left, maybe hopefully hundreds of years, struggling with food and binge eating. So then option two is you can get the step-by-step proven plan with someone who has been in your shoes, who has been there, who has helped other people do this too, to stop overeating using the latest psychology to make sustainable habit changes for good. So Gail was someone who was a busy working mom of three. So if you're someone who is busy at a high stress job, you're totally going to relate to Gail's story. She had tried therapy and calorie counting before. She thought that, that was the solution. She was going really in depth in therapy, but wasn't quite figuring it out yet. She was super focused on the number on the scale. Like she would obsessively weigh herself every day, trying to see if the number went down. And just, it was so stressful for her. But late at night, she would go into the kitchen. She would be secret eating, hiding from her husband, hiding from her kids. And that was always her problem area. Was one during like after lunches at work, she would always go sneak some food, and then also at night. And in the program, she went from 4 times a week binge eating in the beginning to down to 0 at the end. Now she can confidently have just one cookie with her kids. She bakes cookies with them. She doesn't feel stressed about having them in the house. She's listening to her body instead of MyFitnessPal. So we worked on how to build trust outside of calorie counting. And if you were calorie counting right now, I used to too. Like I was obsessed with it. I was so scared to get rid of it. And I understand that. I am not going to tell you to just like get rid of it one day. We are going to work in a slow, methodical method of slowly letting it go and building this trust with your body over time to get to the place where you are listening to your hunger and fullness. Because I have never met someone who has told me, Amber, I'm calorie counting and I want to be doing this for the next 60 years of my life. Like, no, it's like, well, I'm doing it for now, but I don't really know when it's going to end or how I'm going to get off of it. So I will help you rebuild that trust with yourself. She said, with therapy, I felt like I was floating through it, but Amber's program had a real structure and I could see the progression. I knew exactly what I was working on each week. And this is a big thing of feedback that I get from people who have tried therapy before is they're kind of nervous of like, is it just going to be like open-ended? Like, what do you want to do today? That is not my style. I do ask you, like, what do you want coaching on today in the session? And I can always help you if you don't know, like, where am I getting stuck? I'll help you navigate and pinpoint it. But it is a structured program. It is not just a free-flowing, like, you're in charge of your own journey. I have the journey for you, and I'm going to customize it to you every step of the way. So your next steps are to click the link and book a consultation call with me this week. On a consultation call, this is where we'll get to know the program and you a bit deeper. So I'll go through an in-depth deep dive on your history and your relationship with food in the past. This alone can create so much awareness for people. Like people have left consultations being like, wow, I got a ton out of that because I finally understand why I'm getting stuck and where specifically I need to focus on. And I got some insights around actually acknowledging it. Because again, most of us aren't talking about our eating habits that much. It just kind of lives up here in our brain all day long. So sometimes just even having that call to talk with someone and say, this is what I'm going through. Like, is this normal? Am I broken? What do I do? Is so healing. And then I'll give you more details about the Confident Eater program. We'll talk about any hesitations you have, any excitements you have, and then we can have you join. And that is where you'll get access to all of the resources, materials. We'll get your call set up and we'll begin your journey to create the habits of a natural eater. All right, so that is all I have for you today. So now we will go into any open Q&A time. I have about an extra 10 minutes, so I want to make sure that you get all of your questions answered. So feel free to unmute, Put it in the chat if you have any questions, and I'd love to help you either apply what you've learned today or anything else that's coming up for you. One common question I get about the program is, how do I know if this will work for me? Let's just be honest for a second. We don't know if it will work for you. Like, I cannot say 110% it will work for you. But what we do know is there's something that's not working for you right now. There is nothing that is getting you to the point where you feel like you are 100% happy with your eating habits. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here today. You would be go living your best natural eater life. So, I am doing something different than anyone else because I'm addressing your unconscious brain. We're looking at your habits on a deeper level. We look at your urges. So many coaches don't talk about your urges. It's just like hunger and fullness. And like, that's great and all, but that's just like so much basic information that you could honestly use ChatGPT to find out about. What you can't use ChatGPT to do is have personalized, customized support that addresses your unconscious brain. Thank you, Kim. I'm glad you liked it. So if you've tried something in the past and it hasn't worked, I don't want you to give up now. I want you to take that next step to try something new, and you never know what might happen. I recently talked with my very first coach that I worked with. Technically, the first coach I worked with was in 2015, but the second one I worked with in 2019 when I kind of relapsed. And she was the one I worked with for many years. If you're following me on Facebook, you might have seen my posts about this. But I met with my coach, and it was so fun seeing her in person because she was the one person that literally changed the trajectory of my entire life. That when I learned these coaching tools and when I started to free myself from these eating habits, one, this became my career and is the best career in the world. If you ever want to do coaching, I'm always happy to talk to you about how you can turn this into a career too of your story. But also, it just given me so much of my life back in so many different areas. So you never know if this one moment, if this one person, if I could be the person who really changes the trajectory of your entire life and what's possible for you. Right. Any other questions? Or if there's anything you want to share too about like what came up for you today in the prompts, I can make it help you make it go deeper and really apply it to the next level. All right. Well, I'm not seeing anything else, so I will let you guys go for the day. Thank you so much for joining today and taking this time, celebrating yourself for learning something new today. And I want you to actually do something today. Do not just like let this worksheet die in your computer and don't make a change. Promise yourself to make one of these changes, whether it is just one tip, whether it's booking a consultation, whether it's just taking 5-10 minutes to journal after this on what's coming up for you. Those are the little things that will help you to start making progress forward. All right, have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll talk to you later.